I looked through all 5,000 Vacheron Constantin watches on Chrono24 so that you don't have to. We're on the hunt for hidden gems, and here's the thing. There are 15,000 Patek Philippe's on Chrono24, 15,000 Audemars Piguets, and over 100,000 Rolex watches, but only 5,000 from Vacheron. It's not a super scientific study, but it shows that finding hidden gems is easy because they're rarer than you might think. We'll also chat about why Vacheron is overlooked and why people choose to buy from other brands. We'll touch on a bit of the controversy coming from one of our previous videos on this topic. I stand by what I said. And we'll dig through those 5,000 watches to show you ones you probably haven't seen before and the ones that have what it takes to get hot in the future. That last part begs the question, why aren't they hot right now? Well, here's the problem with Vacheron, or rather, here's the biggest hurdle they're facing. Vacheron Constantin is really a watch enthusiast brand. Nobody besides the nerds like us knows what it is or even how to say it. Vacheron Constantin, the quicker the better. Yes, they're part of the holy trinity of heritage watchmakers alongside Patek and AP, but in terms of desirability, even among hardcore watch collectors, I'd say they're falling out of the top 3. Rolex, especially vintage Rolex, is more of a focus for dealers and auction houses now. And there's growing competition from independent watchmakers and high horology brands like Lange, for example. Vacheron watches are good. I mean, they're objectively good, and we'll get into specifics later in this video. I mean, the build quality is strong, the designs can be compelling, they sure know their way around complicated movements. The Maltese crosslode is my favorite in the industry, and Margot Robbie's husband was spotted at Wimbledon wearing a limited edition retrograde jump hour. If it would get her to like me, I'd buy one too. Honestly, that should be the ad campaign. But that's the real hurdle for Vacheron, brand recognition. They're not a household name, but furthermore, the competition among prestige watchmakers gets tougher every year. Buyers who want a recognizable name will gravitate towards Patek Philippe or Audemars, and those that want something niche might go for F. Vacheron, Laurent Ferrier, Lange, Moser, Parmigiani, Urban Jurgensen, and on and on. Now, in response to a recent debate we had about this, many of you took issue with this point, arguing that flying under the radar is a positive for Vacheron, thereby protecting the high horology image of the brand and adding to their exclusivity. Some of you had a lot to say on this topic, and I love it. That's what these discussions are for, and that's what's so great about this community. But the fact remains, there's currently not a lot of sex appeal around Vacheron. A brand can be both exciting and sophisticated, so maybe it wouldn't hurt if their marketing department tried something new. Keep it classy, but energize the brand a bit. That might include a tasteful collaboration with an artist or designer of their choice, thereby reframing Vacheron's deep heritage in a new light, or it could be as simple as finally relaunching a 222 in steel. VC already did it in yellow gold and people loved it, so a steel version would get all eyes on Vacheron in the best way. And as a rising tide raises all ships, I'd argue that would bring more positive attention to their other watches they're making. That's all. Create a bit of hype to boost the horology. That leads nicely into our next topic. The best way to find underrated watches is to look where people are not looking. I think VC has potential to be no longer underrated, but until then, they remain one of the best deals in high-end watchmaking. The 222 is not a deal per se, but you know what is? The first generation Vacheron Overseas. So this watch came out in 1996, and it was designed by Vincent Kaufman and Dino Modolo. It's considered, of course, a reincarnation of Jörg Heisetz's 222. Remember, that is not a gentle watch. The Overseas was Vacheron's reintroduction to the sport luxury category and features a sharp bezel, echoing their signature Maltese cross, and an integrated bracelet that's densely packed with angles and contrasting finishes. This includes black polishing on the underside of the bracelet. Where else are you gonna find that? You had a 35mm version and a 37mm version, but don't be fooled by the diameter on paper. The 35 wears more like a traditional 37, and the 37 wears more like a 39. Both are only about 8.5mm thick, and they have 150 meters of water resistance. That's 3 times more than the Royal Oak and 5 times more than the Nautilus. These first gens are about 30 years old, but you can easily have that water resistance restored back to factory standards. Also, given Vacheron's small production numbers, there aren't a lot of these floating around. For the first gen Overseas, you've got traditional blue dials, white guilloche dials. There are some beautiful tropical dial examples if you're into that. And for the salmon fans, you've got those too. For maximum legibility, check out the military dials in black or the ultra rare blue military dial. These time and date models typically sell in the $10,000 to $15,000 range, which is a steal compared to their competition. For a GMT competitor, you can find dual time versions starting around the $15,000 to $20,000 range. And for a watch that I would prefer over a Rolex Daytona, you have the early chronograph versions like the 49140 starting at just $12,000 or the 49150 starting around $15,000. By contrast, it's kind of tough to find a steel Daytona under $20K. Okay, let's say you're over the whole integrated bracelet sport watch thing. Let's say you're looking for something classical like a dress watch. Cartier comes to mind, and they are more popular than ever now. I mean, even Piaget and Vacheron are getting attention. But what people should be considering as well are the Vacherons. You can go on Chrono24 and sort from low to high, and for under $5,000, you'll find so many thin mechanical watches in solid gold. If you do side-by-side searches, Cartier options fitting these criteria are more limited, so you have more variety and more rarity with Vacheron. And if you like these kinds of watches in this price point, we also did a deep dive on non-Royal Oak Audemars Piguet, all under $10K. This same notion goes for shape watches. I see your Centre and I raise you a Prestige de la France. The range of materials and dials here is expansive and impressive, and you get that beautiful curved case profile that wraps around the wrist. For considerably less than a Cartier Tank asymmetric, you could get a Vacheron Constantin asymmetric, or better yet, a historic American 1921 with its elegant cushion-shaped case and a dial that was originally angled to make it easier to read while driving. It's that exciting combination of classy and quirky for almost half the price of the Cartier. Here's something you've probably never seen before. It's the reference 91002 with a shutter mechanism that opens to reveal the dial underneath. Is it practical? No, but that's the whole point. A grail watch of mine comes in the form of the Jump Hour reference 43040. The design is sharp and simple, and only 250 pieces were made in yellow gold and only 150 in platinum between 1993 and 1995. At a price of roughly $25,000, it's perhaps on the more reasonable side of grail watch territory. Speaking of grails, our last watch for the day is one of the ultimate dress chronographs, the Vacheron Constantin Corne de Vache. It's sleek and slim at only 11mm thick by 38.5 in diameter, and the cow horn lugs have so much character to them. The dual register dial is classically beautiful and well balanced, and the caliber 1142 seen here is based on the Lemania 2310, a legendary hand-wound chronograph that's also the basis for the Omega 321 and the Patek Philippe CH2770. And of course, it's as beautifully finished as you'd expect from the world's longest running watch brand. These are just the relatively affordable hidden gems within the Vacheron archives, but I don't have to tell you that they also make beautifully complicated perpetual calendars and dual register chronographs, and even weird stuff like the Mercator. I don't even know how to say it, you would never see this watch. We can disagree on why Vacheron's underrated, but I think we can all agree that they made some of the best watches in the business. Drop a comment with your take on the situation. I'll read every single one of these. Shout out some of your favorite models, and we'll see you next time.